I'm Kerry Peters, a recognized thought leader in the Microsoft Dynamics community and a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Welcome to the Get Your New View podcast. Keep listening to learn how we work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers that they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. Welcome to this episode of the Get Your New View podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Kim Congleton, who is one of our founders and our CIO, and she's here to talk to us today about data warehouse as a phase 2 project. Kim, can you define data warehouse for us and what that is?
Yes. A data warehouse is it can be a lot of things now, but essentially it's going to be a place where you store your data. And I say place because it could be a million different solutions. It could be in an Azure data lake. It could be in a SQL database. But it's essentially where you're storing a copy of your data. And it may be your BC data, or it may be also your payroll data, any other systems. It's a place to put all of your data in one spot so that you can access it and then do reports off of that.
Okay. So why do companies put off creating a data warehouse until phase 2?
I think that the common thing that we see is that, most partners will talk to somebody, customers, about implementing an ERP or replacing an old ERP. But the conversation that a lot of people forget to talk about is, what am I going to do with the data from the old one? And how do if I can't move transactions in history over to the new one, now how do I still look at that old data? I think that a lot of partners are focused on just Business Central and they forget about the whole picture. And if your company doesn't have a CIO or a director of IT or somebody that's involved in that process, that conversation a lot of times doesn't happen until the very end, when you realize, oh crap, where's my history going to be and how are my users going to get to it? So I think that a lot of times that conversation doesn't get had up front, and then it's like, oh no, now what am I going to do?
Yeah. Is it difficult to put a data warehouse in a place after go live?
No, it's really easy. And, a lot of times it ends up as part of that rush to get the project implemented. And it may lag like a day, like a week or two or even a couple weeks after go live. Because a lot of times you will have access to that old system. But what gets a little cumbersome is for the users to have to be in 2 systems to go look up old sales order data. So if you have a data warehouse, you can actually pull and create reports from both systems so that you can say, I want to look up this customer and I want to look up all their sales history. And you can have that report hit both databases in the data warehouse and be able to show that for the user. So it makes it a little bit easier on the users to get access to that old historical data.
Yeah. So do you have a customer story to share about a company who put a data warehouse into place recently?
Yeah, we've worked on a couple of data warehouse projects, and a lot of times we are coming in after the initial implementation. The last couple we've talked about, they've come from a different system into BC or NAV. And it's really about kind of, now I have BC up and running. I have all these reports, but I have all these other systems that are kind of running as well. So, manufacturing companies will have information from their QA reporting or QA systems, or some of that external data, payroll data, a lot of times we want to pull in there. So it's really easy to come in after that phase and say, okay, what kind of reports do you really need? Looking at the reports they've already built in Excel, we have one the customer that has built out a ton of really cool reports in Excel, but it's also very cumbersome to keep those maintained. And it kind of is a little bit of a drag on the system. Not as much with BC as it was in NAV, but so really taking those Excel reports, creating a data warehouse where it can easily pull in the data from BC and all this other data that they were accessing as well, or even hand keying Now you can pull it into a data warehouse and then build one report that gives them that full view of the data that they need.
Yeah. Can you recap for those who are listening the primary benefits of using a data warehouse?
So one of the biggest things is having access to multiple data sources at the same time. We see this a lot in manufacturing companies, food industry. There's always a lot of external data in different systems that you need to pull together. We'll also see it in just if you have a lot of transactions in your BC system, being able to have that pulled into a different database so that we're not hitting the production database and slowing down that database while it has to churn through all of that information.
Do you have phase 2 projects that have been on your to-do list for way too long? Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at NewView Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started.
The other key thing about it is we can create views in the data warehouse or data sets that will allow you to access multiple things and be much faster to run than trying to pull like 4 tables, information from 4 tables in BC at the same time. So you kind of get to pick and choose and make things a little more efficient in a data warehouse. You can also add some calculations that you might not have in BC. So you can be really smart about the data set that you build for those users. And then those data sets they're kind of like the gold standard of what you're using to build your reports off of. So, for building reports that have any sort of profit or margin, everybody's hitting that one data source and they better get the same calculations on their reports. If they're pulling from BC and they're just pulling from tables, how they do those calculations can be different a lot of times. So that's also frequently another thing we'll run into is that, somebody will say, well, I have these 10 reports and they all give me different numbers. And that's because you're not really hitting the same data and dealing with it in the same way. So the data warehouse kind of lets you normalize that and make sure that everybody agrees this is how we calculate profit and margin.
I love it. So what are the top things that companies should do to prepare for a project like this?
So this one is a little bit more, to me, this is a little bit more work because they do have to kind of figure out what reports they built and then kind of say, okay, if we have 20, 30 different reports and they're all pulling different numbers, we kind of have to take all of those and kind of say, okay, what's the common data that's being pulled for all these reports? So there's a little bit of work going into, what are the requirements? What are the data sets we need to build? Who are the users that are going to consume this information? The biggest thing is making sure they have KPIs defined. So, while we have all these 20 or 30 reports, they may not actually be reporting on the KPIs that we really want to report on. So it's a little bit more of a project, and I would consider it like a mini project because there's a lot of things that have to happen up front. And there's a lot of analysis that has to go into the actual reports they have now, and then design into making sure we build out the correct data sets. And then, actually getting all that over, building the reports and things like that.
Makes sense. So how does NewView make it easy to implement this type of project in phase 2?
I think just because we've done it, we've done it a number of times. And I think one of the things we're really good at is, kind of knowing what those data sets should be based on, the type of company it is. So if it's a manufacturing company, we can pretty easily get to, we need these sets of tables, we need this type of information. So being able to kind of say that up front, look at their reports, compare and say, okay, here's where, here's how we should build this data set out. The other thing is we're really good at asking the hard questions and challenging them. I've always said that a report should be something that I can take action off of. It shouldn't be just something that's pretty. So, if I get a set of reports every month and there's 10 charts in there and I never make a decision or, really look at something and try and figure out why is my margin negative on this product? Well, if I'm just going to look at it and say, oh, that margin's negative and I never actually do anything about it, then that report isn't really a good report to build. So I think that's kind of one of the things that we are good at as well is really kind of challenging what are that set of reports that you need that are going to let you take action and really see the exceptions that you maybe need to look at each month.
Yeah, absolutely. If this is a project that sounds interesting to you, contact us today. It's super easy. Just send us a quick email to info@getyournewview.com and we'll set up a quick 30-minute call to talk about how you can get phase 2 projects like this done at your company. Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at NewView Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started.